Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how the Bouqs is using event propensity modeling to drive customer loyalty. We'll be taking the full hour today, so I'd like to jump right in. Jordan and Nitika from Custora's product team will first do an intro to event propensity modeling, and then Phil from the Bouqs will speak about how they're using these models to drive growth.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jordan Elkind. I'm the head of product management here at Custora, and I'm so excited and honored today to be joined by my product management colleague, Nitika Sheth. Nitika, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Nitika, you've been at Custora for almost 4 years. During that time, you've worked on a ton of projects. Something that you've been spending a lot of your time on recently is a brand new data science release that we're calling event propensity modeling. How long have you been working on this exactly?
It's a good question. I would say the seeds for event propensity modeling, or EPM as we call it, were planted about a year ago. We kind of started talking about it internally, brainstorming with our data science team about how we might actually approach it, and we started actually building about 6 months ago.
Okay, so now it's time to answer the burning question on everybody's mind. What the heck is EPM?
Good question. So EPM is essentially a super flexible kind of modeling framework and pipeline that we've built internally that allows us to essentially predict any customer event. I think a question might be, what is a customer event? What do you mean by that?
So happy you asked, because I was going to. Yeah,
a customer event is essentially used to describe any action that a customer could take. So whether that action is a purchase, whether it's visiting a store, whether it's opening a credit card. But the EPM modeling framework essentially allows us to predict a wide array of customer actions that any customer could take with a retailer.
Got it. Okay, so you started getting interested in this, exploring it about a year ago. What actually prompted you and the data science team to start looking into building this capability?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think over the past few years, we've just kind of come to a realization that the customer journey today is infinitely more complex than it ever has been, right? There's so many more customer touch points that define customer loyalty and the path to purchase and beyond than they ever have before. Has a user downloaded your app? Have they referred a friend? Have they left a review? All of these are really, really key moments that take place across a customer's lifecycle, both before and after a purchase. I think even beyond that, as we were having conversations with our customers, and particularly some of the more analytically advanced retailers that we have the honor of working with, we realized that there's a genuine desire to kind of create a wonderful customer experience that goes beyond asking customers to just purchase a product. And there was really a genuine desire to understand this wider swath of customer behavior. So whether it was our customers coming to us directly to say, hey, Custora, help us find customers that we can target for our credit cards more thoughtfully, or those who can download the app or leave us really thoughtful product reviews, that's where we started thinking about, okay, there actually may be something here.
Oh, so you're telling me that event propensity modeling can be used to predict any event that might take place in the course of a customer's relationship with a brand?
Exactly, and much easier said than done.
Yeah, so actually, I mean, it sounds incredible, sounds a little science fiction-y, but why is this easier said than done? Like, what are some of the challenges that a retailer would face in building this capability on their own?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here, and I would say the things actually go beyond even like the predictive analytics place. So the part that is obviously difficult is like, hey, let's predict any customer action. There's a few steps that you need to take before predicting an action and after predicting an action in order to make it useful that are actually also equally as hard, and something that we've noticed with the customers that we work with. The first critical step here that we've seen as difficult is just getting access to data. I mean, as you can imagine, events such as credit card opens, store visits, loyalty program signups, those data streams tend to be incredibly siloed, even more than purchase data, and they typically live with a different vendor who's actually either offering those services to the retailer or in a completely different database altogether. So it's not uncommon to see marketing teams who have a complete lack of visibility into which customers have taken this action before, let alone being able to predict who's going to do it in the future. So I would say that's number one. It's just the sheer access to data. Number two is actually being able to action on these insights and measure these insights easily. So once you have, let's say, access to the data and you're able to create a thoughtful predictive model that says, okay, who's likely to do this in the future, the next step is to actually being able to message these customers and deploy these campaigns across channels and measure the effectiveness of those campaigns. Again, kind of going back to the data being incredibly siloed, it's really hard to do this. It's hard to say, okay, I've sent out a campaign, but now I actually want to understand, of the people who were in my test group for this campaign, how many of those people actually ended up taking the action I wanted them to take? And how many people in the control group actually ended up taking the action that we wanted these people to take?
Right. And I know we're going to hear from Phil over at the Bouqs in a few minutes. A great success story of how their organization has used it. Winding back the clock a little bit, you talked to a bunch of customers and realized there was a huge opportunity here. This feels like a monumental data science undertaking, and I'm sure you guys considered many different ways of tackling this challenge. Tell me a little bit about the thought process that you and the data science leadership at Custora went through in figuring out, hey, what's the best way to skin the cat here?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I think you said it right. This is probably the most ambitious data science project we've ever taken on in Custora. It's a tall order to go to our data science team to say, help us build a model that predicts any customer action. But I think we also knew very strongly that we did want to take that approach rather than building out individual predictive models for each conceivable customer event that could take place. So our data science team, big kudos to them. I mean, they really explored everything under the sun, from neural networks to map models to really advanced kind of ML techniques. Where we landed up was essentially building a basket of a really diverse set of models, each of which reflects different kinds of customer behaviors. And then layer on top of that, we built what we call an automated model selection framework. So to put it simply, essentially what we're now able to do is, for any customer action that a retailer wants to predict, we're able to ingest a data feed that shows that action and when it's taken place in the past, essentially run it through this modeling pipeline. What the pipeline does is it runs the data feed through this series of models, and it automatically then selects the model that has the greatest predictive accuracy for the event at hand. So it's a really flexible kind of entire pipeline from data ingestion to predictive output that we built. And we're excited about kind of the path that it's put us on, whether it's predicting more customer use cases or even kind of bringing more of our internal models into this framework.
So a big part of the value proposition of event propensity modeling is the flexibility, right? That it can predict any type of customer engagement with the retailer. I'm curious, based on your conversations over the last few months with retailers, what are the actual types of problems that retailers are most excited to solve with this new capability?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I would say it really depends on kind of the retailer's strategic priority. So, for example, you mentioned Phil from the Bouqs. Phil Irvine is the director of CRM at the Bouqs. We're going to be chatting with him a little bit later. But because of the nature of their business, they're essentially a flower delivery service. The subscription program that they have that allows people to get flowers at a regular cadence is a top strategic priority for their exec leadership. And as a result of that, subscription signups is what we ended up leveraging the EPM models to predict for them. You might think about like an earlier stage retailer that's just getting started, and their strategic priority might be brand awareness and getting the word out there. So events like referring friends, figuring out which of their customers are most likely to visit their pop-up stores, those would potentially be most exciting. We have other retailers that we work with that have products that have an incredibly long product life cycle. And that's amazing because these products are durable and last the customer a lifetime. But as a result, these retailers have really, really low early repeat rates. So they are focused on kind of boosting revenue through some of these ancillary programs that they have, such as gifting programs, so being able to predict who are their gift givers, repairs programs, predicting who are people who are most likely going to come and repair a product. And then lastly, you have this whole swath of more mature retailers, people that have been around for a while, and they're thinking about loyalty in a really deep way. So for them, their credit card programs or their loyalty programs might be the focus for the EPM models.
Got it. And to the extent that you're able to share top secret plans, give us a sense of what's next for EPM at Custora. What role is this going to play for us as a company over the next couple of months?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's really, really exciting just because of how flexible EPM is. It's opened up countless opportunities for where we could go from here. I think on the customer side, we'd just love to see adoption of as many use cases as possible. This will help us internally iterate the models, continuously add new models to our basket to kind of make sure that we have a framework that reflects as many customer behaviors as possible. On the internal product infrastructure side, this has given us a really interesting opportunity to think about how our other models may fit into this framework, because essentially a lot of Custora's models right now, including the Pareto NVD, are centered around predicting things like customer purchases. But if you think about it, a customer purchase is just another customer event. So what we're thinking about is how we may be able to move all our models under the same EPM umbrella that would make it much more consistent for us internally and would just create a much more flexible modeling environment overall.
Got it. Well, Nitika, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me for a little bit, answer some of my questions about EPM. I'm really excited about this, excited to listen to your conversation with Phil momentarily. So thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jordan. We're really excited to have Phil Irvine here with us today. Phil is the director of CRM at the Bouqs. The Bouqs is an amazing flower delivery service located in LA, but maybe to get started, Phil, you could give us a little bit of background on yourself and the Bouqs and kind of how you got there.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, happy to be here. Phil Irvine, director of CRM and partnerships at the Bouqs. So a little bit about myself. I've mostly been working in the CRM, loyalty, retention marketing space for 6 to 7 years. And currently at the Bouqs, I'm responsible for all direct-to-consumer marketing as well as customer treatment across all touch points. So on-site, customer service, and through various other mechanisms. And then I also lead a lot of our partnership marketing efforts, which actually blends well with CRM, with the way that we do a lot of co-branded partnerships. And so a little bit about the Bouqs. It's a direct-to-consumer e-commerce flower delivery company. I'm sure a lot of people know there's a lot of players in this space. What kind of makes us a little different is we really try to lean into our brand, which is a clean shopping experience, transparency with where flowers are sourced from, knowledge of the farmers of where they come from, and then also we try to stand out with a little kind of millennial-esque type of humor and messaging with our branding to try to help differentiate us from a lot of the other bigger players out there. So it's a very competitive industry, but we feel like there's growth opportunities, and we've seen some success because of those key pillars that we lean into.
Cool. So given the Bouqs' unique business model coupled with your focus on the customer journey, what did you find were your biggest kind of strategic priorities and maybe also some challenges coming into the role?
Yeah, so I think, if you talk to anybody in the floral or even broader, the gifting space, with us, the big emphasis is on our key peak periods and holidays, which are Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. So priority number one is maximizing traffic, sales, revenue during those two key periods. You'll find kind of roughly in the industry, 50 to 60% of revenue comes during those key peak seasons.
Wow.
So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic in the floral space. So with us, that's kind of priority number one. But priority number two is marketing and engaging with our customers to think of, number one, flowers and then the Bouqs as the gift of choice for other meaningful moments and seasons within their family of network and friends. And one of the big ways that we try to go about this with differentiating ourselves from competitors is an emphasis on our two subscription products. So we have one product which we call regular deliveries, which allows customers to have the same arrangement sent to a recipient on a regular cadence. So every week, every month, every quarter, having flowers sent to your wife, your mother, your father, etc. And then another subscription product that we launched about 2 or 3 years ago that we're really excited about is our special occasions product, which allows customers to preset dates and recipients in line on specific occasions. So it allows somebody like myself that's a terrible planner and I'm always last minute shopping for flowers. I can preset to have flowers delivered to my wife for Valentine's Day, my mother for her birthday and Mother's Day, and maybe my brother and his wife for their birthdays without even having to think about it on the actual date. So it's something we're really bullish and excited about, and it helps us to try to differentiate and account for revenue outside of those peak periods. So I should say what I meant to say is diversify our revenue stream outside of those peak periods.
That makes a lot of sense. And Phil, your team was actually one of the beta testers for Event Propensity Models. You were a key kind of part of innovating and creating the models. So maybe can you talk a little bit to us about why you were excited to be a part of the development of the models and how kind of utilizing the event propensity models tied into your broader business goals?
Yeah, definitely. I think as we've put more of an emphasis within our teams on increasing the amplification and awareness of our subscription products, I think one thing we've seen is it's harder to get a new prospect or new customer to sign up for a subscription customer versus an existing customer,
right,
who's experienced buying from us, our clean shopping experience the higher quality of the flowers either delivered to themselves or their recipients. So kind of based off of that learning, we've put more of an emphasis on marketing to our existing customers to upsell them to buy one of our subscription products. And I think up until the time when we got into the exercise of working with Custora and you guys with developing the model, we really didn't have a strategy of which customers to target, to focus our upsell treatments and campaigns around. And so we were really excited about this because with working with you guys, we've been able to figure out a way to become a lot more targeted, to figure out what subset of customers we should be communicating to and marketing to try to drive this upsell type behavior. I think there's low-hanging fruit that any marketer will tell you if they want to upsell one-time buyers to subscription products, and we have creative treatments and secondary inclusion pods kind of scattered throughout our lifecycle marketing campaigns, but with a model like this, it allows you to figure out, where do you want to become more aggressive and have dedicated promos to certain cohorts and customers to incentivize certain behaviors.
That's super interesting. So it sounds like having access to these models allowed your team to kind of do two things. The first is understand better who the customers were who were signing up for these products in the past. And secondly, predict the subset of customers who are likely to sign up for these products in the future.
Right.
Looking into those groups of customers, were you surprised by any findings around who was signing up for these products, what they were signing up for, the cadence of signups, anything that came out to your team?
Yeah, I think I think our initial hypothesis was that our most valuable customers based off of historical spend was who the most likely target would be to sign up for our subscription products.
Right.
Kind of the concept of, making the leap of whoever's buying from us the most is more apt to, to sign up for a subscription.
Yeah.
And I think, and I know we worked on this together. What we found is when we tested dedicated campaigns to that cohort versus the cohort that the model predicted, we found that the model predicted a higher rate of customers that actually would sign up and convert to sign up for a subscription. So I think, I know a big thing we've talked about is that the timing of when a last e-commerce purchase was made was, one of the big drivers, one of the big data inputs for the model. So I think that's something we're starting to pay more attention to now, but it definitely was an interesting finding based off of that original hypothesis, which really drove our strategy for the most part up until we started working on this specific model.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that parlays well into my next question, which was, how did you guys think about the marketing strategy? So once you had access to these groups who are likely to convert, how did you think about translating that into a set of cohesive marketing actions or programs to then effectively communicate with them?
Yeah, so I mean, the starting point, low-hanging fruit is non-paid type of marketing tactics. So email marketing campaigns, and so essentially what we have in market now is a 4-part email series so once somebody falls into a bucket where the model is predicting that they're either very likely or likely to sign up, we trigger a 4-part email series where we highlight the different benefits of our subscription products. So essentially what we have in the market is it's a consistent 20% off as far as from a price standpoint. There's free delivery with each purchase. And then with our special occasions product, something that's kind of nice is it's a concierge, and essentially where you tell us what category of flowers that you want to buy for your recipient, and then we do the heavy lifting with determining the actual bouquet that is sent based off of kind of what's the most popular and in season for that purchase. So we try to highlight these differentiators throughout the email campaign series from a content standpoint, and we found that it's been pretty effective with driving signups. And we also recently started to funnel this cohort into paid social campaigns as well.
Oh, wow.
So we're starting to put a little more investment from a new customer acquisition and also repeat customers with amplifying subscriptions. And so we've seen some small wins with focusing on this cohort with our Facebook campaigns versus our general kind of new customer acquisition efforts there too.
And how are you guys thinking about measuring effectiveness of these campaigns? Are there certain metrics you're paying more attention to across channels?
Yeah, I mean, email, we're purely, we're looking at kind of from a last click, last touch basis, how many people we're driving signups for.
Okay.
And, one thing we do look at, so across all signups, we look at by channel, which channels are influencing signups, and email is consistently at the top or, second as far as channels driving signups. So we are looking at that from that standpoint, and we have monthly goals that we're tracking towards kind of across the board. With Facebook specifically, we're looking at cost per order targets with signups, and because subscription customers have a lifetime value 3 to 4 times more than regular one-off e-commerce purchasers.
Mm-hmm.
We have higher cost per order targets that we're using to spend against with Facebook ads to drive signups. So that's something that we're constantly looking at. To be honest, it is a tough sell with purely through one channel versus another. So that's why we're starting to look at it more holistically with really trying to put in market more awareness to this specific cohort to drive signups. So.
Cool, that makes sense. And so you started with email, you're experimenting with paid social now.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas as to how that could evolve further in the future?
Yeah, I think a couple things we're looking into. We are starting to ingest data from the Custora platform into Zendesk, which is our customer service data platform that we use to manage incoming tickets regarding issues that customers have with either deliveries or quality issues or just general inquiries about the Bouqs in general. And our vision is that at some point, if we have this data, which can inform us who's likely to sign up for subscriptions, that we can actually turn our call center into a revenue generating source for us in the future, where essentially if we know somebody's a higher likelihood to sign up for a subscription, a live agent, as they're taking calls, can educate them and inform them about the benefits of these products and potentially upsell them. It's something, it's going to take some time to get there, but that's part of the vision. Additionally, with paid search also, that's something where I believe during Mother's Day, we're going to start testing some of these audiences out with some subscription ads versus just general Bouqs ads to buy on a one-time basis, and seeing if that can be an effective channel as well for us too.
Wow, that's super interesting. So it sounds like subscription and special occasions are well on their way to becoming a really, really solid kind of marketing strategy. Any other events outside of those, Phil, that come to mind that could potentially be of interest to use these models and develop similar strategies around in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think over the past couple of years, we have seen during kind of November and December and the holidays, essentially, we've started to see a pretty big pickup with just purchase behavior and revenue during those periods. And so I think, one thing we did test in 2017 was, so not a subscription type of product, but the ability to buy a bundle of flowers where you could buy flowers just for a 3-month period for the same recipient. And we did see some short-term success with that.
Okay.
And I think that's something we started to discuss, especially during the gifting season with the holidays, and seeing if there's maybe some upside in having more bundle types of purchases available to our customers to increase AOV with that type of behavior.
Right.
And then kind of tied with that also, speaking of bundles, we have a test partnership going on with Sugarfina right now. So we're bundling flowers and chocolates and candies together, and we've seen some early success with that as well. And I think that could be a type of event that we look to see once we have a little more data, to look to see if there's a way to predict, who's likely to buy flowers coupled with potentially another product.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah. So it sounds like, Phil, a lot of these kind of events that you're looking at are all in favor of building and cultivating customer loyalty. Mm-hmm. What does customer loyalty mean to you and your team at the Bouqs, and how do you think about it in terms of your overall marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think number one, back to kind of what I mentioned earlier, Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, we want to be, the brand that customers look to gift for those key peak moments and periods.
Yeah.
And then I think, kind of tied into that, for any other key moments in somebody's life, birthdays of their relatives, anniversaries, graduations, Easter is something we're trying to lean into heavily this year as well. Like our ultimate goal is to have our customer base think of the Bouqs as the gifting platform of choice. for those periods. I think, another thing we haven't talked about is huge with loyalty is also turning our customers into advocates for us.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's, partially it's a function because we're still kind of smaller compared to competitors, but I think you'll find people that buy with us are definitely bigger advocates to their networks compared to competitors. And I think it goes back to, the pillars of our cleaner shopping experience, our transparency with where flowers are sourced from, and just kind of the brand that we've built have helped to allow us to drive that type of behavior. But I think that's going to be an even bigger thing for us as we try to grow more.
Do you measure customer advocacy right now in terms of any other events, such as like referring a friend or sharing promos?
Yeah, so we do have a refer a friend program. So we do look at that behavior and that activity. It definitely is an area of opportunity for us, but we do find some correlations with people that are referring friends and getting friends to purchase with, ultimately their lifetime value with us as well. It's again, though, it's definitely an area of opportunity where I think there's other platforms and other mechanisms we can use to measure it even further.
Yeah, shameless plug for maybe another event we could help you predict and cultivate. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Phil. It's always a pleasure talking and working with you, but more to come on what you guys are doing soon.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the invite, and excited to continue thinking through more events and to lead to more success here.